So Nintendo is in an interesting place. There's a lot of people, I don't want to say a lot of you guys, but a lot of, I guess, people rooting for the Switch not to succeed that seem to be dancing on Nintendo's early grave. I mean, this is always true at pretty much all times. Remember, guys, Nintendo's doomed, like, since 1986. That being said, I think people are jumping the gun a little bit in going down Nintendo's throat on their 20 million Nintendo Switch prediction for this fiscal year. And yes, I'll be the first to admit, it doesn't look like Nintendo is going to get there. However, Nintendo has not moved off of that prediction. And even while Furukawa, Nintendo's president and CEO, kind of sat back and said, hey, look, like, if we don't get there, it's okay. It's kind of what we're aiming for. I think we also need to look at Nintendo's strategy to get there. Yes, obviously we have holidays coming up. That's a boost in sales on its own. But I think Nintendo's strategy is actually a lot more interesting than people think. Now remember, Nintendo Switch in the first half of the current fiscal year, which runs until through March of 2019, they sold a little over 5 million Switch units. Now, they hadn't really have any major games come out during that time period. Sure, we had the Mario Tennis Aces of the world and Kirby and some Wii U ports and Octopath Traveler, but in general, there wasn't really a big system mover then. And remember when I told you guys that Octopath Traveler wasn't a system seller? Well, I mean, the sales of the Switch have kind of come out to prove that Octopath Traveler wasn't really a system seller. But that's besides the point. Because we are looking at what Nintendo's strategy could be, or is, I guess, for the next, 5 months plus October to hit that 20 million mark. Because remember, we don't technically have updated sales through October. The fiscal report was only through September, through quarter 2. So what is Nintendo's strategy? Well, I actually got inspired to do this because there's some people that I saw on Twitter that were actually saying that Nintendo needs to, triple the sales of Switch over the next few months. Actually, no, they need to triple the sales of Switch from the beginning of October until, well, the end of March. And Nintendo's strategy to do this isn't just about Pokemon, isn't just about Smash. In fact, it already started. And it started with Super Mario Party in October. Nintendo noted that Super Mario Party has already sold over 1.5 million copies. It's the fastest selling Mario Party game ever released. And they noted that it boosted Joy-Con sales. Now, they didn't talk about Switch sales because they don't want to give any updated Switch sales stuff. Heck, they didn't even really update us on Joy-Con sales. They just didn't want to give any updated Switch figures through October when they just updated us through September. They're going to wait to do that, to basically count Switch's sales from October in their next fiscal update, which is in January. So, again, they're going to leave those numbers alone. But it actually already started then. And in addition to that, that led into Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee. Pokemon has traditionally been a system seller. Even the lowest selling Pokemon games, at least in terms of core games, tend to still move units. In fact, I went back through the history of every single mainline Pokemon game to date, and even some of the worst selling ones that only sold 5 or 6 million combined copies, they still increased the sales of the platform they were on by over 50%, usually sometimes 100 to 150%, over the prior week's sales. And then it took over a month before sales ended up dropping back to what they were before the release of those Pokemon games. What does that mean? That means Pokemon is a system seller even when the games aren't performing that well. Obviously, the better the games perform, when you get to the 12, the 14, the 16 million unit, sellers, they'll sell the most units, but even at 5 to 6, it still sells a lot. And I think Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, lowball numbers are probably 4 to 5 million, and thus it could end up moving, overall 1.5 million or so Switches on its own. Now, that's not counting holidays, of course. Holiday sales always boost everything. We already know that there's a Mario Kart 8 Deluxe bundle out there for, $299 this Black Friday at Target, and there's going to be more deals like that, I am sure, throughout the rest of the holiday period. So Switch is actually sitting in a very interesting spot for momentum because, yes, Super Mario Party did well. We know Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee is going to do at least okay, and okay for a Pokemon game is still way the hell better than most other IPs out there. We know they already have the system sellers from, the last year, basically. We know that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has been moving 400,000 units every single month, and it's going to move even more this holiday because now they're selling a Switch that's bundled with it, right? Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Super Mario Odyssey, and Splatoon 2 every single month this year have been moving over 1 million combined units. That's going to continue for the holidays. In fact, it's going to be even boosted for the holidays. So those system sellers actually also help this holiday season, in addition to Pokemon. Then Smash Bros. Is coming out. And I went back through Super Smash Bros. Data because I've been on record saying that Super Smash Bros. Is not typically a system seller. And true to form, Super Smash Bros. Is not a system seller in the way Pokemon is. And that's despite the fact that on 3DS, it moved like 10 million units or something like that. I think the last updated figures are actually 9 point something, whatever. It's probably over 10 million at this point. But the sales only boosted about 30% week over week for 3DS. Now remember, this was later in 3DS's life, and then they just kind of, maintained that for a little while, for about, 3 weeks before it sank back down to normal numbers. And this is in the United States and in Japan. So that being said, it still moves some units. Not as big of a system seller as Pokemon, but that might be different this time around as well, because Super Smash Bros. For 3DS was a weird thing because it was on 3DS, but it was also on Wii U, and sales were split between platforms. Some people were buying both versions, so it's just the same consumer buying the game twice. Some people were not. It's a weird situation to look at, because if you actually look at the Wii U side of things, Wii U sales got boosted by 60% when Super Smash Bros. For Wii U came out, and then maintained that for nearly 2 months before it dropped off. Now remember, Wii U sales weren't that great anyways, so a 50% increase on Wii U sales didn't really feel like much. I would not say that even with a 50% increase on Wii U sales, that it meant it was a Wii U system seller, because nothing really sold systems that well on Switch. Not even some of the best-selling games, which includes Smash Bros. So I do think that Super Smash Bros., however, coming out right at the end of the Black Friday period, but before the holidays, is going to be a system seller. It's going to move units well, but it doesn't stop there. So remember, we have all the games from last year that are going to be easier to get with Switches this year for cheaper, for the holiday period. We have Pokemon, we have Super Mario Party that already started momentum last month, and we have Smash Bros. Maintaining or growing momentum even in December. But we're not done, because remember, we still have next year. We still have January, February, and March next year. And what are we getting in January, February, or March next year? Well, in January, we are getting the new Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. And I'd be like, but it's a Wii U port. Why does it matter? Well, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is a Wii U port as well, and it is already outsold the Wii U version of it. And, by the way, it's on pace to be the best-selling game on Switch, surpassing Super Mario Odyssey here sometime in the next 6 months. That's insane when you consider that, how banging the Super Mario Odyssey sales were for the first few months. That now, in terms of the long tail sales, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the more evergreen title. Now, that being said, Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, it's a game that launched with Wii U back in 2012, got Luigi U DLC later, and that's all packaged into this. Plus, there's the Super Crown and all the made-up fan Bowsette stuff following it. It's going to sell well. I want to make this very clear. 2D side-scrolling, I should just say side-scrolling, not 2D. Side-scrolling Mario games have always outsold the traditional, well, they're all traditional, I guess. Outsold the more freely open world Mario games. The Mario 64s of the world, the Mario Sunshines, the Mario Galaxies, and obviously the Odysseys of the world. The side-scrolling games have always sold best. Now, they haven't necessarily sold systems as well as the Odysseys of the world. However, they do move units, and New Super Mario Bros. U, obviously being a Wii U launch title, was basically the reason people were buying Wii U at launch. And Wii U actually had a phenomenal launch. It was a skyrocket launch for 2 weeks before things just died out. So I do think, coming off the holidays, coming off all those people opening their Wii U's for Christmas, the new Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe is actually going to help maintain a higher level of sales than we're even seeing now in January. Oh, by the way, that's not it either, because guess what else is landing before the end of March? Because it is slated for a spring, and after March, we're getting into summer. So what is coming out this spring? Oh, right. Fire Emblem Three Houses, the return of Fire Emblem to a quote-unquote home console. And while we've seen a number of Fire Emblem games come out on 3DS, really the last major iteration was Fates, and then before that, Awakening. And Awakening was obviously like a reawakening of the popularity of, well, of Fire Emblem. In fact, I think Fire Emblem Awakening is actually the best-selling Fire Emblem game ever, and it boosted sales of 3DS in a very similar way to Pokemon, but on a smaller scale. The sales weren't doing as well for 3DS at the time when it came out, so the sales bump was nice, but not comparable to, say, Sun and Moon or something like that. That being said, it still boosted sales significantly. So if you kind of look at what Nintendo has lined up here, you're looking at Super Mario Party last month, which kind of got things started. You had the holiday boost from last year's games plus Pokemon, followed up the next month by Smash, followed up the next month by Mario, followed up within a month or two by Fire Emblem. Like, Nintendo's path to hit 15 million units from October through March to hit 20 million is actually not looking as impossible as you might think. That 6-month slate of games is full of 4 system sellers plus one of the best-selling games in a particular Nintendo franchise's history. That is... did we mention, by the way, that 6-month period is also happening with the smack dab middle of it being the holiday season? Needless to say, Nintendo's path to getting 15 million units might not be as impossible as the naysayers say. And no, I don't actually think Nintendo's going to get there. I don't. But I do think if they do, or even exceed it, should we be surprised? The current from October through the end of March for Nintendo's IPs is one of the best slates of games Nintendo has had to move systems in forever. I mean, if you think about it, you look at 2017, right? You launched the system with Breath of the Wild. The next system seller was the next month with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and then you hit it with Splatoon 2 in June, right? So you went March, April, May, June. So in 4 months, you had 3 system sellers. But then you didn't really get another system seller until October. So it went July, August, September, then October hit, and then you had another system seller. So yes, you ended up with 4 system sellers, but it was spread over a longer period of time of 7 to 8 months. And then you had the holidays kind of carry things after that. So yes, well, and by the way, the Switch was actually supply constrained, a little bit after launch for the few months as well. So that kind of held things back as well. So yeah, you can look at 2017 and be like, well, if that slate of games couldn't move 15 million in that same time span, how is this slate of games going to do that? The difference is obviously that those games that came out are still selling Switches to this day. They are the primary reasons that Nintendo Switch has maintained, a very specific number of sales. So it's not going to hurt to have those games on the platform already, plus more system sellers. The next, 5 months of games coming out for Switch are one of the best slates of games in terms of moving units Nintendo has had, period, in the history of the company. And why is that? Well, Pokemon's obviously one big reason. Smash is another big reason. Fire Emblem and Mario. It's a very awesome slate of games. Now, obviously, I'm not expecting all current Switch owners to be like, oh, I want to get Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe again. No, but a lot of people that didn't buy Wii U are going to be very, very interested in that game. I think the only way it would get better is if they went Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe in January, dropped Fire Emblem, Fire Emblem 3 Houses in February, and then in March hit us with Super Mario Maker Port just because they can. I think that would obviously really cap out things well. I mean, if Animal Crossing landed, then forget about it. Nintendo's exceeding 15 million easily, but I think Animal Crossing is probably a summer title to help kickstart things for, well, the 3rd fiscal year for Nintendo Switch. So yeah, I honestly think Nintendo does have a clear path here to hit their 20 million projection. And anyone who doesn't see that path isn't paying attention to Nintendo's history of sales with these very similar IPs and games. And they're not really paying attention to what's happening with Switch anyways heading into the holidays. So honestly, well, I think they're going to fall short. I think they're going to hit about 18 million. I'm not going to be shocked if they hit 20 million or more for this fiscal year because, again, they kind of have the path set up for them. This would have been nice if this would have been the first 6 months of this fiscal year, but, you can't have everything. Nintendo probably wishes they could have had the first 6 months with this slate of games, with another 6 months with a similar slate of games, and then have 8 system sellers out in a year. Every platform wishes they had that, but I think Switch is going to be all right. I think it's going to end up outselling the first year's plus launch month numbers. Because remember, launch month of March last year in 2017 counted for the prior fiscal year. So if you count the sales of that month plus the entire first year of Switch being on the market, I think Nintendo's going to end up outselling that. Despite the fact they're only a little bit over 5 million halfway through this fiscal year, I think they're going to beat out that 15 million mark they made, and we're going to be looking at We're going to be looking at 18, 19, 20 million. And Nintendo, they know what they're doing, guys. Like, they have a system. They know the momentum was kind of stalling a bit, and now, boom, they're hitting us again. So get ready, folks, for some crazy Switch numbers coming out in January, and then at the end of March and April when we get the fiscal report for the full year. Do not be shocked to see massive numbers for Nintendo Switch, even for the beginning of 2019. Anyways, folks, I'm Nathaniel Rovajance from Nintendo Prime. Give me your thoughts on all this down in the comments below. Do you think Nintendo's going to fall way short and all the naysayers are correct? Do you think Nintendo's actually got a clear path here with these games? Do you think these games are not going to sell as well as maybe the projections and the models and the prior success might dictate? Let me know down in the comments below. I am Nathaniel Rovajance from Nintendo Prime. If you like this video, smash that like button. The more people that like the video, the more of our subscribers it sends it out to. Nintendo playing their game, or Nintendo, YouTube, whatever. At this point, are they different? Yeah, they're different. One, Google, Nintendo, not the same thing. Also, by the way, we're giving away a Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Nintendo Switch bundle. There's a I'll link down in the description. This giveaway will still probably be going on for the next, 2, 3, 4 months. But, yeah, and hey, we're really close to 40,000 subscribers. I want to thank all of you guys for tuning in and watching my content every single day. And I wish all of you guys an awesome rest of your weekend.